Huh? Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Toledo. It is great to see everybody. As we get going today, I would like to ask Rotarian Raina Dawson to come to the podium and deliver today's reflection and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Miss Raina.
If I could sing, I'd be singing along and on and on and on.
Not sure what's going on there, but yeah.
Right, absolutely. But good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Rotary today. And thinking about how we were going to discuss and reflect on what it means to be a Rotarian, I first looked at the four-way test. I looked at, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And I decided to do a little looking, and one of the things that stuck out to me was number 4. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? It's something that I think about and use in my daily life, right? I'm an attorney, but by trade, I'm a mediator. I kind of like to see how we can best benefit everyone. One of the things that I found when I was looking at on the Rotary International website is, I'm going to read it. I know, everyone loves to be read to, so let's read the entire document, right? It says, people naturally act in our self-interest, but if you view every encounter as a zero-sum game, you will view every encounter as a win-lose situation. That perspective creates confrontation, not cooperation. Successful people understand that to succeed in the long run, they should strive for a win-win whenever possible. They understand when others benefit, be they family, friends, customers, or employees, they benefit too. And I think that we should take that into our daily lives. And in order for us to have a win-win situation, we have to listen to our neighbors. And we say we love our neighbors, but loving our neighbors means actually listening to them. It means when people are describing their situations and stories, when people are even describing a dining experience that might be different than yours, listening to them and believing them, believing their truth, and understanding that it might be different than yours. So today, when you go out into the world today, scatter away from this beautiful lunch you're having, remember, will it be beneficial to others? Thank you so much. Let's do the pledge. All right. Where's the flag? Oh, shoot, okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Raina. We are without a sponsor for February's meeting, so shame on us. If anybody would like to sponsor the last two, we'd happily have you reach out to Jackie for that. But does anyone have any guests with them today? If so, please come to the floor mic and introduce them.
Moore with the Area Office on Aging. I'm pleased to have with me today the Area Office on Aging is the Director of Community Engagement, Dr. Katina Williams.
Welcome. Glad you could be here.
Thank you.
President Travis, I have with me Reverend Gail Cantanella. She is the new rector at St. Michael's in the Hills Episcopal Church. Came to us from Youngstown as a Rotarian there.
Excellent. Welcome. It's good to see you again.
President Travis, fellow Rotarians, I have the honor of introducing Dr. Shanda Gore's guests. First, we have Michelle Zaru. She is Chief People and Culture Officer with Lourdes University. Next, we have Erica White, President and founder of Fit Zone, with an upcoming pending application.
Excellent.
For Rotary, to be specific. And then we also have Bobby Gore, Sports Research Advisor for Mays & Associates, and he has the honor of being Dr. Shanda Gore's husband.
Excellent.
Very important role.
Welcome, everybody. Glad everybody's here.
Oh, we have more. Don't worry.
We have more. Oh,
we have more.
Damn, Shanda.
And finally, we have Tom and Bessie Brady. They are returning guests. They were the founder of Plastics Technology and are now community leaders. Now we have everyone.
Excellent.
Promise.
Welcome, everybody. Glad everybody's here. Sorry for jumping the gun there.
Well, I only brought one guest today. I didn't realize we were
Slacker.
supposed to bring 7. I'm excited to have with me a friend from high school, Eddie Zimke. He's a St. John's grad. He is the baseball coach at St. John's and also works for Blue Sky Restoration and a prospective member. He also claims to be friends with Scott Hinshaw and Allison Hammonds, but I'm not going to judge him for that.
Yeah, that could affect the membership, but yeah. Welcome. Glad you're
Hey,
here.
great news. I brought a second guest.
Oh, yes, he did.
Former Rotarian and soon-to-be current Rotarian.
Yes.
Currently a future Rotarian. I don't know.
Application's
Derek
been
Peppers.
received.
Derek Peppers.
It's great to see you, Derek. Welcome to everybody. Glad you were with us today. Kevin, don't sit down because you're next up. So I would like to invite Kevin up to the podium to introduce a video that's recapping our trip to Uniendo. So last week, 5 of us from the club were able to attend Uniendo down in the Honduras. For those that don't know, Uniendo is a service fair where Rotary clubs from all over Central America bring their projects that they are looking for help with. We're also able to visit past projects we've worked on. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kevin.
I feel like I just talked to you guys. On the flight back from Honduras, I watched a movie, and the line in the movie was, "You can care for others selflessly, but that empathy rarely extends beyond the scope of your own vision." What we did for 5 days in Honduras was expand the scope of our vision, and we had an opportunity to see the true impact that this club has. We're going to show you a recap and some of our reactions to the time that we were there, but I want to make a point of recognizing and thanking a lot of the history of our club. Certainly Dean Neese for his leadership on the projects that we got a chance to see firsthand. I want to make sure we recognize Dean for his leadership. Thank you. I also want to recognize our foundation for us being a club that values these experiences. And our club invested in sending 5 of us to go to the Uniendo Service Fair, which gave us the opportunity to visit communities in San Pedro Sula and in Tegucigalpa. So I also want to certainly thank the foundation and encourage you, if you have not made your donation to the foundation, these are the kind of things that it supports, not just our going there, but the projects that you're going to see. Kids are learning, kids are healthy, they're drinking clean, fresh water for the first time in generations. Because of the work that our club and our foundation do. So without further ado.
This is the 31st year of the Uniendo Central America Club project. It was in Honduras that the Uniendo projects were started.
What I saw was a community that is desperately trying to grow out of poverty. I saw a community that has each other's back. I saw a community that's growing. But unfortunately, I saw a community that was dredged in toxic wastewater flowing through their neighborhoods, unpaved streets, and quite literally trash mounded everywhere.
I think the best thing that happened is that we were not prepared to see what we saw.
I was preparing for the worst. I knew we were going into a desperate situation. I prepared for that. I did not prepare for smiles. I did not prepare for cheers. I did not prepare for anyone to be happy to see me.
When our bus turned that corner and we saw a party waiting for us, they were so excited and so proud to show us their home. But the whole time I'm looking at conditions that would never be allowed in our community.
One of the things we did while we were there is go to a trash dump, and there were hundreds of people spanning from like the age of 2 or 3 to maybe in the 70s, picking through trash to find food, clothing, necessities.
You know, every bit of my being wanted to leave. It was uncomfortable for a number of reasons, not the least of which was the heat. It was smelly, it was dirty.
Life shouldn't be like this. Kids shouldn't be 2 years old going through dumps to eat. Somebody shouldn't have to be abandoned at a dump. Someone shouldn't have to lose their entire family to murder. Someone shouldn't have to choose to be able to wash their hands or just eat.
Stepping foot on ground where children were literally walking in a dump, barefoot, seeing the trash and the ground come up between their toes because they have no shoes.
At this conference, there are other organizations that are also giving, other Rotaries, right? Even this home, Honduras, the 4 Rotaries that are here in Honduras, they're working every day to give to their community. We can work, we can contribute to already meaningful and intentional projects that are very well thought out and put together.
Every tiny bit of support we can provide people in need, whether they're in Toledo or whether in Honduras or anywhere in the world, there is despair and need. And to be here really brought it home of just how important the work we do really is.
And you get to see the families that get to drink the water from the well that members of our club helped build, or to think about the impact that is going to come from kids who went to school in a classroom that we built. It's unbelievable. It's humbling. It's just, I'm so blessed to be a part of this.
The big takeaway for me that was also as moving was seeing the graduates at the end of the program, and to see the smiles on their faces, to hear them talk about their dreams and their aspirations, and to see them generally, being basically entering society as having jobs and being successful. That to me was as moving and as powerful as everything else.
We're part of this organization so we can make an actual difference, not a pretend difference, not a demonstrative difference. I would say that this is the reason why we're in Rotary.
You always hear the phrase Rotary moment, right? And as a new Rotarian, that seems like a dumb thing. Like there's this moment that's going to happen that just makes you realize that you're in the right place, doing the right thing. I've lost count how many Rotary moments have happened over the last few days here in Honduras. And maybe I'm just as excited for the Rotary moments that are going to happen when we get back home and we get to work with all of our friends and colleagues in the Rotary Club in Toledo to say, let's make a difference in Honduras.
But everywhere we've gone, people recognize the logo. We were stopped as we walked and people mentioned Rotary. It is well known what we do, and not only just Rotary, but the Rotary Club of Toledo is recognized here. It has several projects with Billboard. We as a club are known in this community through the past efforts of some of our great members, and it is appreciated.
It just gives you goosebumps to know that what a difference Rotary made. What a difference.
For putting that together. I can't thank the foundation and this club enough for the experience that we had last week. It sounds cheesy to say it. My life was literally changed last week. I'm still emotional about it. I've told people I literally cried more times last week than I have in probably 10 years. To see the desperation, to see some of the things we saw, but also to see the hope that we have provided as a club through the works of so many great members. You saw the worst and you saw the hope. And when you combine those two things, you understand why this organization is so important here in our community and in the world. So from the deepest parts of my heart, thank you for allowing me to have that experience. And similar to what Kevin said in the video, I can't wait to see the impact our club continues to make in literally changing people's lives and saving lives. So thank you to all of you for that experience. Moving on, let's move on to happy stuff. As you know, I love to recognize people's accomplishments, and I am excited to announce that Justin Moore has been named the new president and CEO of the Area Office on Aging. So, Justin, where are you? There you go. Congratulations, pal. That's awesome. On behalf of the Peace Committee, I'd like to remind all Rotarians of next weekend's District Peace Summit happening at the Lorraine Community College, or County Community College, sorry. Your fellow members, Karen and Raina, have been working on the planning committee, and the program has a lot of great breakout sessions. So more details will be on the spoke, along with a link to register. So if you can make it, please do. And with that, I would like to introduce, actually ask Whitney Keeler to come to the podium and introduce today's speaker, Dr. Shanda Gore.
I am honored to introduce today's speaker, who I first met right here at a Monday lunch at Rotary. But it was during a Rotary happy hour this past summer, she managed to convince me to step outside of my comfort zone and join a golf clinic put on by M&A Culture Building Institute, which she chairs and manages. It was there that I not only learned the basics of golf, but in a fun and judgment-free setting, but I also learned that Dr. Gore is the best kind of leader, one who practices what they preach, deeply cares about those around her, and is very much invested in improving the world around her. Dr. Shanda Gore is the founder and president of Mays & Associates Limited, a full-service leadership and development strategic planning and culture building consulting firm. She has more than 25 years of experience and recently surpassed 20,000 individuals who have been through her training workshops. Mays & Associates is a certified minority and woman-owned business, business and has clients across the U.S. Additionally, Dr. Gore leads the Mays team of experts who work with organizations from city and county municipalities, private large business and corporations, large athletic organizations, and serves as a leader in executive coaching and implicit bias assessments. She is the host of the Pin Leader Podcasters, available in 175 countries, and has been interviewed by the Big Ten Network for her work with college football officials in the Big Ten, MAC, Missouri Valley, and Pioneer conferences. Dr. Gore has received several awards and accolades. She has been honored by her school alma maters, including being the 2022 Bowling Green State University's Leadership Studies Innovative Leader for Equity and Diversity, and the 2020 Maumee High School Distinguished Hall of Fame inductee. She is the 2022 Impact Business for Women's History Month for the Northwest Ohio Toledo Minority Business Assistance Center, received the 2019 American Council of Education National Women's Network Leadership Award for the Ohio chapter, received the Ohio Grand Council Order of Pythagorean Civil Leaders Award, is an African American Legacy Project Emerging Leader of Excellence awardee, and has received the Toledo Urban Federal Credit Union Community Appreciation Award. This past January 2024, she was honored with the 2024 Black Girls Rock Community Change Agent Award by the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and Alpha Kappa Alpha Zeta Alpha Omega Toledo chapter organizations. She is a national award-winning speaker and led discussion topics at conferences and conducted workshops on leadership, disparities in healthcare, strategic planning, engagement surveys, and policy implications, including the annual meetings for the Association for American Medical Colleges and Higher Learning Commission. Dr. Gore is a graduate of Bowling Green State University. She received a Bachelor of Communications degree and a Master of Communication with a study emphasis on underserved communities in the greater Toledo, Ohio area. Dr. Gore earned a Doctor of Education in Leadership Studies, and her research area was involvement behaviors and minority medical student retention. Additionally, she holds a certification as an Intercultural Development Inventory Administrator and another certificate in e-commerce and entrepreneurship. Dr. Gore has been married for 29 years to Bobby Lee Gore Jr., a retired Toledo firefighter, and they are proud parents of 2 adult children, Shoshana and Nathaniel Gore. Dr. Shanda Gore.
Okay, so that was, she just did my entire life, practically. But thank you so much. That was wonderful, and I appreciate that introduction. For clarity's sake, Black Girls Rock is actually coming up on February 17th, but they announced it in January. So that's just a few weeks away. So I want to make sure, get your tickets. All right, so I am standing, he's trying to fix us. He's trying to fix us, and then he's going to make the presentation go live. I think he's trying to do 2 things. All right. So all of that work, I want to say, you cannot do it alone. And so I just want to make sure, some of these faces might look familiar, but we really work hard when we talk about, and we're going to be talking about civil conversations. There's a whole team behind what I do. And when we say we're all over the country, we have clients in Utah, for those that visit Utah. So we're all over the country, and these great folks are the ones that really make it happen. And then some of the ones that we were talking about, yes, you can find us as we do a number of clinics that are actually not only in the local area, but she mentioned the Big Ten. We work with a number of conferences too. I say this all because what we're talking about today is happening across industries, and the challenges. I never thought, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, we would be having this conversation about how and why it's important to have a civil conversation. If you'd asked me that question, I'd say, no way, that's foundational. Everyone has civil conversations. Everybody understands civil conversations. And I have to say, in the last few years, it's something that's missing. Boundaries are really crossed, and just getting to the bare minimum of a civil conversation, people need practice. It is not a given. It is truly an art form. It's practice. Okay? So we're going to get right into it. We're going to be talking about defining and understanding the impact of civility. Civility. Recognizing overcoming barriers to civil conversation. Having and resolving difficult conversations tied to conflict, and we're going to be doing an activity. So if you thought, oh, I'm just going to sit down and eat, and oh no, oh no, oh no. And then moving forward, what can we do? Because as Rotarians, we are responsible. We take responsibility. And so this is something that's why I'm attracted to the group. That's why I joined. And I see it every time when we talk about the places we go and we make a difference. It's really powerful. So let's just start with the bare minimum of civility. Okay? And let's talk about just the basics. In this group, everyone comes in and we're civil to each other, right? Civility, courtesy and politeness, and action or expression. One thing that you can see as Rotarians is you can look at the table, and how many of you sat down and offered water to the individual next to you? This is something I noticed This is something I noticed right away when I came and became a Rotarian. I sat down my first day and someone poured my water for me. That's an act of civility. I mean, civil, I don't know you. How many of you sat down at the table you didn't know, you had new people, and you started introducing yourself? Act of politeness, right? Civility. So, bare minimum. So we've all got that definition. Care. Now I say this because the act of actually pouring somebody else's water and giving that time, it's before, and even when you drain out the water at the table, that's happened. Somebody sacrificed the last glass to somebody next to me, right? You may have done that. That's care for the other individual. Bare minimum of understanding, okay? The provisions and the health, welfare, maintenance, and protection of someone or something else. Look at what we heard today. Rotary in Honduras, caring, right? Act of care. Now, let's talk about this culture. Did our group meet last week? Monday? Even though our leadership was gone, Our leadership, we didn't need the leadership to be here to know culture is that we come in, we get our food, we introduce, we sit down, we say hello, we shake hands, we greet guests, okay? And it's not because he's here or not. It doesn't matter. I'm sorry, President Travis. But we've built culture here. We anticipate, we align, and we act based on that, okay? It's durable and robust, and its survival and power do not depend on the presence and the personality of one individual. Now, I'm using Rotary because this is where we are, this is who we are. But think back on the organizations that you have, and think about if someone's missing for 2 weeks within your organization. Anybody felt that when they're missing and like things kind of stop or halt? Okay. Sometimes you don't have depth and have somebody to back up, but that actually makes you nervous. At least it should. Because culturally, can it sustain without that person? So very important. So why all three? The alternative is characterized by rhetoric, a lack of listening, which we heard Raina say today. Listen as we go out, right? And the lack of listening, fear, and centers on an individual. Anybody worked in a place where if that individual was removed, that you felt that it might be a better place to work? Oh, we saw a hand like, oh, I'm not sure. If you're sitting at the table with someone that you say if they weren't here for 2 weeks that you could feel good about it, don't raise your hand. All right? Okay? All right? But you may have worked in an environment like that where, it's painful to go to work or it's painful to go into that organization. Okay? What I'm saying is that the 3 C's work together. Civility only starts to rotate when you have care and communication going in. One drops off and the others fall off, especially when you're building culture and you're wanting to have potentially a difficult conversation. Okay? Okay, so what are organizations saying? Now, I'm just telling you this because of years of research and working with a number of organizations, but what are organizations saying? Harvard Business, which is one of the most respected, has got the top 10 in-demand leadership skills for their future workforce and workers. And I'm clicking these so that you can see them. Each one, digital adaptability, being able to work the new technologies, getting it worked into the workplace, okay. Empathetic communication, care in your communication, emotional and social intelligence, big skills. Right? Number 3, so being able to hold those emotions and knowing when it's the right and the wrong time to actually have conversations. Conflict management, to be able to resolve situations that are occurring. Persuasion and influence, being able to sway and influence. Persuasion is not a bad thing, it's about how you go about doing it. Okay? Inclusive leadership, the inclusion of diversity of thought, of presence, and who can bring different elements to the table. Calculated risk-taking. Key here, calculated, strategically, thinking through that. Strategic agility, flexibility, all right? Engaging and inspiring leadership. How do you engage and inspire those that are working around you? And then leadership without formal authority. Not micromanaging someone. Leadership can occur without having someone stand over them. These are great traits, and this is what the future workforce, what they're saying, is needed. Now, we're talking about civil conversations, right? We're going to play a game. I'm going to flip to the next page. I want you to think of these, and I'm going to have you, and if you can see, if you've got phones, I'm going to ask you to pull your phones out. And if you see this QR code, you can use the QR code, or if you can't use the QR code, I want you to go to slido.com, and then I want you to type in 4181804. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, which leadership skills do you believe are impacted by the level of civility in your conversations? And before you hit the submit, you can choose more than one. So you don't have to choose one. You can choose more than one. You just click through, and then when you're done, I'm going to have you hit submit. Now, if you're watching on Zoom, you can play this too. So just want to make sure people online can do it. We have a number of people still participating, watching the bars move. Which ones are impacted by the level of civility in a conversation? Which ones? All right, we've got 3 more people. We've got, looks like 50 plus people participating. Next 10 seconds, and we're going to round it up and shut it down. Get your votes in. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Thank you for the 60 plus people who participated in the poll. You have voted. Empathetic communication is the number 1 you've selected. Remember about care and communication. Emotional and social intelligence, conflict management, persuasion, influence, all the way down. We have 9 that, again, some of you believe may be part of that. And calculated risk-taking was the very last one in your vote. Now, what's interesting about this, let me show you where the most obvious ones are and how you have actually built a case in your mind that it might be in some of the other categories. The ones that are highlighted are the most obvious with civil conversations that need to happen. But you've already thought about it and said, well, it could also include these other areas. And you would be right, depending on the circumstance and the context of what's going on within your company or organization. Okay? Now, what's interesting about this, I want to make sure we're clear, think about a conversation you're having about Michigan and Ohio State. How many Michigan fans do I have in here? It's okay, raise them proud. Okay, how many Ohio State fans do I have? Oh, okay. And you're sitting at tables together, right? In a civil conversation, if it's brought up, how many people avoid talking about Ohio State and Michigan, like with people? Because you know that it may not become what? Civil. May not become civil. Because of people are wedded to their team. They're going to believe in what they believe with their team. And I take this because it's something fun we can talk about, right? Ohio State, Michigan's kind of fun. But imagine if the topic had gotten serious. Maybe it's political. Maybe it has to do with relations, right? This is very critically important for us to know that, like, these are skill sets that are caught up inside a civil conversation, and knowing that workforce, especially if you're selecting someone to work with you or to be a colleague or to partner with, these are things that you need to make sure. Can you have a civil conversation with that individual? Let me tell you what Ernst & Young is saying. 92% of employees said culture impacted their decision to remain with an employer. Didn't say money, it said culture. Has anybody left a well-paying role and said, you know, I can't take it anymore. I don't get along with the people in the office. I'd rather take a pay cut and be happy. Anybody face that? Okay. The Society for Human Resource Management, SHRM, one of the most respected organizations, again, getting certification for HR. Let me tell you what they're saying. HR professionals are encouraged to set an example by champion civility. They're not even pulling any punches. They're saying flat out, we need you HR professionals to champion civility in your workplaces. They set a goal. Because strategic planning, you should always set goals that are measurable. Having 1 million civil conversations in 2024 nationwide. Can you help us have civil conversations inside your organizations? Lead the way, be the change. That's amazing that a group has come out and said that. And they know how critically important they are within the organization. So it's not something like, oh, that's a nice thing to do. It's critical to any organization. So culture creation. I'm going to say this. Everyone in here creates culture. Even on your bad days, when you walk into a place, when you walk into Rotary, you may have come into Rotary, had a lot of things on your mind today, but you create the culture at your table. Maybe a guest is sitting there and has never been here before. They're watching you. They're watching you to see what your response is to Rotary. Do you show up? Are you engaged? Do you do what you say you're going to do? Everyone in here does that. You define it and share it, some common ground meanings. We have a common ground of understanding that's service before self, right? Communicating and sharing ideas, which some may or may not agree with. Can you have a conversation about that sports team with someone that doesn't agree? It's easier to avoid. But can you stop and listen to the other side just for a moment? Because that's care. That's care. Being inclusive by giving attention to all ideas and caring what the perceptions would be. Maybe they have perceptions about your team that you don't like, right? But can you allow them? Is the topic more important than the person? And I would say civility has fallen apart in some aspects because the topic area has become more important than the person. Harm, damage, things said. People don't care what the other person's feelings are. They just want to make their point. Be mindful, be aware. Allowing trust to come through, as you most likely believe everyone provides an honest and a civilized answer. What's the opposite of civil or civilized? Being what? Rude. This is old time academics. Uncivilized. Being uncivilized. Uncivilized. That was uncivilized. It's not respectful, right? It's aggressive and how people perceive it to be. I'm going to show you some barriers. These are not all the barriers, but these are some of the barriers to having civil conversations. Sometimes even the person themselves is the barrier because the perception of that person and what they're bringing to the table based on some of these things. Now, for Ohio State fans, right, you may be prejudiced toward your own team, right? You may have some stereotypes tied to the other team, right? You may discriminate. You can't sit here. This is an Ohio State table. Okay, right? Microaggressions. And having unconscious bias and the conscious bias. And when I say that, I mean unconsciously you may have a bias toward that individual who is delivering whatever the conversation is. Could be unconscious or conscious, okay? And then the lack of care and communications within the conversation. You just don't care. Now I will do this because we have the time. If I say, I'm going to pick on Ryan because he's a brand new Rotarian. Hi, Ryan. And I say to you, how's your weekend? Mhm. How's the kids?
Good.
I really care about you and your family. Do you believe me? No. I love his family. They are a beautiful family. They're my neighbors. And they fix our cars. But my actions do not speak and match up with what I just did, which tells you that the nonverbal communication, how you sat down today, how you interacted with one another, critically important. I say that I care, but I don't. So being self-aware is the most important part of that. Being self-aware how you manner, how you interact, shaking the hand and having the eye contact. Sometimes comes easy to some, but not to everyone. The good thing is we have a relationship that he's giving me a pass, right? 100%. Right? Because we've built a relationship, we have trust amongst each other, so he may give me a pass that I'm having a bad day. There's something going on with her. Anybody know anybody like that? You give him a pass? He might even say something to me later. You know, hey, anything going on? Is there anything I could help with? Even having that extra step is actually what people are not doing. They're not even doing follow-ups. They say what they say, and they leave, and they drop a bomb. Anybody know anybody like that? Drop a bomb, and they walk out. And then everybody's got all the wreckage of that, of what just happened, or what was said, right? The follow-up. So now, we're going to do an exploring activity together at your tables. Yes, you're like, wait, I'm still working? Yes, we're going to work through this. So we're going to be keeping it civil. And your table is your group, okay? We're having a table discussion. The first thing I want you to do, I want you to think carefully what we've gone through, and I want you to identify a difficult conversation that you've had. It could be personal, it could be, again, in the workplace, okay? Think of safety when you're doing this. What started the conversation, and what tools did you use to resolve the conversation, and then what, if anything, you would do or have done differently. So, we're going to take a moment. I'm going to have you talk amongst yourselves at your table, and I want you to go ahead and think of a conversation, share it with your table, where you had a conversation that was becoming uncivilized. And then how did you manage it? And go. I'm so glad you bring that to us, because it's hard for us to get our head wrapped around it because we're so privileged.
Why this was happening, that it was not because she hadn't done a good job, which was the truth. It was just we had to eliminate so many positions, and in the evaluation, we had to eliminate it. I didn't say this to her, but she was who she worked for. But I didn't tell her that. I just said we did an analysis, and we have to eliminate some of the positions. And unfortunately, we were one of those positions. The only thing I think was we made the decision to do it all at once one day. We made that decision like the day before, as opposed to not necessarily to give somebody a heads up or bring them in one by one like over the course of time. We just said, hey, we got to do this. Let's get it done in a matter of an hour, basically. I'm sure. I don't know where she was in line, but I think everybody knew when they were being called in after the first person came out, whether they said anything or not, but just their body.
How's your conversations? 30 seconds and wrap up. I don't hear myself at all. I don't hear myself at all.
How we know?
No. Okay, good. Okay. All right, so wrapping up. Okay. And I'm not moving. I'm staying right here. I'm not moving. All right. So now I'm going to ask for some to share. So I'm going to have someone from your table, and it doesn't matter who, can come up to the mic and spend about a minute and a half quickly explaining it and answering the questions. So let's see it. Who's going to go? All right. All right.
First of all, we had a very lively discussion. I shared with the group that at a recent Ohio State-Michigan game, I was attending with two of my sons, one who's an Ohio State fan, one who's a Michigan fan, and we are praying that nothing happens. But lo and behold, at the end of the game, they were yelling at each other.
Yes.
But anyway, our group had a very nice discussion. We think that besides civility, you can be civil but insensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So our group, I gave an idea to them and they sort of accepted it. To succeed in life, you need to be civil, sensitive, and still. Sensitivity, you can be civil but not be sensitive. If somebody comes from different ethnicity, different socio-economic background. And the stillness is that when somebody expresses an opinion, before you sort of neutralize their ideas, you have to think twice before you speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I myself personally, I've been working on these virtues for a long time, 25, 30 years. Civil, sensitive, and still. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Can we give him a clap? The sensitivity falls in which one of the three C's? In care. Because you care, you're allowing that conversation. And because, I don't know if all the sons were in the car riding back together, but that would have been a car ride. Very good. Okay. Anyone else? Please step to the mic.
Smaller table, but we had Dean at our table, so that makes up for it. We were talking about, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, so knocking on doors as a young child, I had to have conversations that were not easy. And then I'm in marijuana, so having that conversation amongst many is difficult as well. So we were talking about that and how differences, sometimes we can't just walk away from the conversation, we have to address it. And empathy being the number one thing. Empathy, calling things out, saying that I understand your point of view in the very beginning. Because that takes down the barriers and the defense. Like, they hear me, they understand my point of view. And then when you take to break that down and say, okay, I can understand your point of view, now listen to mine as well, and then just being open-minded like we all said.
Excellent. Thank you.
I think that was it, right? I'm not needed anymore.
Also, I would say too, when you're talking to someone, you're starting a conversation like this. I need you. see, or I need you to do, or I need you to act. I need you. What's the first thing on a person's mind who's hearing that? What do you think? Telling you to do something. Is that the first step in creating a civil conversation? What if the person, remember, we're talking about civility, doesn't care what you need? That's amazing, because that's taking centristic. It's a centristic point of view. I don't care what you need. But what can you do? You can talk about what you can do to pull them in. What can I do to help you? Right? If they're open to it. A lot of people think, oh, you want to help me solve the problem. Not always. They just want you to listen. Civility is really critically important to address that and being able to listen. Thank you for everyone participating, because I know we were tight on time. You can tell when I do sessions, we can do a full half day, we can do full days, but I want to give you a taste. I'm hoping to give you some tools when you're walking away, right? At this point, I know, President Travis, you want to do questions? So I want to just take a few minutes to do, anybody have any questions? You may be battling with something. You may have something going on. And if you want to talk privately, I can do that too. But if you have some question for me, please feel free to ask.
What a timely issue. Thanks. I want to put this in context of the Lake Erie water issue. When I got involved, Janina and I went around, we talked to probably 40 different constituencies over a course of about a year and a half. And we put together a matrix of the different ones with different skin in the game. And what we found was, what I envisioned is, could we bring those 40 together and have a real conversation? What I found was, just talking with 2 or 3 of them, that alone would be a tough pill to swallow. So, and I did have an experience like this 20 years ago in the Andersons. And I really studied, where can we get some, I'll just say, ways to think about this complexity. And I don't want to go into who I got involved, but what I know is, when I got involved with Janina and Tim, I sought out the best people in the world to do this. And they were the offspring of the people I worked with 20 years ago. They're named Rios Partners, REO Partners.com. And what these folks do is they go into places like Honduras and Guatemala, some of the most challenging places on earth, to try and get into these conversations. And so I spent with Janina about three meetings on the phone with one of their experts. And so just that alone, and them describing their process, was both compelling and scary. Okay, now what I want to do is, I'm like I say, I'm shaking, I'm not nervous. I've got to, can you hold that for just a few minutes? Darn it. Can you open that up? Jeez.
One thing I'll say is that the first thing I'm hearing is he went to someone who's a credible source when he's starting to have a conversation that can be a little bit of a challenge with someone else that's going to push up against the idea or the thought. I have to say, when I prepare for any kind of presentation in any situation, I come with everything that I need to know in the subject area. For me to even have a civil conversation and say, it's important, I wanted to make sure you have the statistics. I want to make sure that you know that when you're building culture, what that looks like. And if you're not, it's like, well, why are we even having this? It must not. You'll have people who will say, having civil conversations is not important. They're going to walk out of here and they're going to say, it's not important, or we've got that nailed, all right? My role here is not to convince them. And your roles are not to convince the person to come all the way onto your point. That's not the point. You want to build awareness and you want to make points, so later maybe they'll think about it. But at least having the engagement and the conversation to be able to do that, just don't say, well, we can agree to disagree and walk off. If that's where they're at, then that's where they're at. But you can control what your emotions are doing. You can control emotional intelligence where you think and position that you're at. So I just want to make sure that you know that. Sometimes people are not prepared for their own civil conversations. They think they are, but they're not. It takes practice. Thank you.
Shanda, thank you so much. I think from a civility perspective, our microphone didn't want to play along. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate your speech today. Thank you for filling in when we asked you. I think you're aware. We will be giving you a copy of Historical Tales of Toledo, written by past President Clint Monk. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. And guess what? We'll also be making a donation in your name to the Polio Plus campaign. So thank you very much for being here. Okay, next week we will be joined by District Governor Jim Duke, who will be giving an update on our district. So please make it out next week and come meet the district governor. Don't forget, tomorrow we do have Rotary Coffee Connections. It will be at Rust Belt Coffee here downtown at 8 a.m., so please join us. There's one committee meeting this afternoon, which is the Environmental Services Committee in Summit A. So given everything we saw last week, I have to say it, we already are doing it, but to continue, go out, create hope in this world, make an impact in your Rotary, in your community, in your world. Everybody here, you're all amazing people. Thank you for caring and being here. Go out, have a great week. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.